In this presentation, we will review financial statements, the balance sheet, income statement, or profit and loss after the payroll is processed for the month of December in QuickBooks. For more accounting information and accounting courses, visit our website at accountinginstruction.info. Here we are on the home page. We currently have the Open Windows open. In order to open the Open Windows, select the View dropdown and Open Windows list. We're going to go to our Reports dropdown now and go to our financial statements, those being the balance sheet, so company and financial, down to the balance sheet standard. Within the balance sheet standard, we're going to customize the report up top. Date range 01/01/21 to 12/31/21. So January through December 2021, we're going to say OK. And here is our report. If we double click on the checking account here, we only have payroll information in it. We can see the trend that we have here. We had a paycheck for our first pay period, August, ending in August pay period, but we paid it in September. And then we paid the EDD and the payroll taxes to the state and to the Fed. Then we had our second payroll paying the paychecks, and in September that we processed in October. Then we paid the taxes, and then the October, which we paid the checks in November, and then we processed the taxes for that to the United States Treasury, and then the November that we paid in December, the paychecks, and then we processed the liability checks, and then finally we had the December payroll, which we processed in December. We've kind of made that change to make sure that we didn't have that timing difference, processed the check a day earlier than normal, and recorded it in December here. So here's the paycheck for the month in December, which we processed at the end of the last day of December. So that's going to be our information. We double click any of this information, we'll get to the paycheck. And obviously each of these paychecks here, if we go to the Paycheck Detail, this is the net check that's being shown on the checking account, because that's what actually came out of the checking account. So that's what came out of the checking account here. If we close that back out, then we go into the liability section. So we have the FIT, the FICA and the FICA, Medicare and Social Security. If we go into any of these items, we'll see the payroll type information or the payable type information with payroll. And that means that this is the federal income tax for the employees, where we have the typical payable trend, which is the liability goes up and then we pay it off and it goes back to zero. Liability goes up, we pay it off, it goes back down to zero. Liability goes up, we pay it off, it goes back down to zero, so on and so forth until the last pay period here, which that has not yet happened because we haven't paid it off yet. So if we go into any of these, like Anthony Moore, 187, where does that come from on the check detail? If we go into this check detail, we're going to say that that is the 187 from the federal withholdings. Closing this back out, closing this back out, closing this back out. Same thing would be true for the FICA taxes. If we go into, say, Social Security, OASDI, Social Security, FICA. And we can go through here and same trend, except it looks like there's more data, and there is, because it doubled up the employer and employee portion of Social Security and Medicare. If we go into any of these, 269.08, where does that come from? Check detail. It's going to be the 269.08 here, and the employer portion matched, employee and employer matching. So we're going to close that back out, and close this back out. So the group insurance have been accumulated. We haven't been paying those off. Notice if we go into in the insurance, we see that the checks for the insurance for our pay periods here, no payments. They're not going back down to zero because we haven't made any payments to the insurance. So we need to do that. But we're going to keep that for now. So we're going to close that back out. And then we're going to go to the profit and loss, reports up top, company and financial. Select the profit and loss standard report. Change those dates from 01/01/21 to 12/31/21, and that's going to give us this for the year. If we double click on that item, this is the payroll, and we can see the payroll again, just a lot of information. And notice we started just in the third quarter, not for an entire year, and it's trying to break out by checks to give us all that detail, but obviously it's a bit overwhelming. But if we go into it and think about it, what's happening, not so bad. So let's change it just to the last pay period, which was, let's just change it to 12/31/21. And now we just see the last pay period. Still just a lot of information for just 4 employees. If we pick any of these 4, like Anthony Moore, we'll just say we have all this stuff related to Anthony. If we double click on the first one, we're going to say, let me see the check detail. The 407.5 and the 112, that's the gross pay, not the net pay, not what's showing up on the cash side, but the gross pay here. And that gross pay, remember, includes all the liabilities, all taxes that they owe. We don't need to add another taxes on top of it because it's included in the gross pay. And then if we go into this item, the 259, where does that come from? Not here, but there. These are the employer taxes that they're including, once again, grouping them together into this journal entry. So the total here, 49,585. If we were to compare that to like our journal entry type of format, it would be these 2 journal entries. This would be the employee gross pay for all of our employees, and this would be the employer taxes paid over and above. Those adding up to, if we can see this, the 49,585 here. So those are the amounts that are being used to generate this 49,585. If we close this back out, well, let's first take a look on this item then. If we look at total payroll expenses, note again, we're breaking it out. So between the employee portion, the gross pay, and the payroll. So if we add these 2 up, then this is going to be for the entire year, 258,468. So 258,468. If we close this back out, 258,468 is what is there for the entire pay period. So remember, grouping it all together in QuickBooks, going to have to break it out possibly if we want to know the employer portion of the payroll taxes and the gross pay, which is going to be reported on W-2s and whatnot for the employee earnings. For more accounting information and accounting courses, visit our website at accountinginstruction.info.